How many people here would be willing to put their hands up and say they are absolutely certain that they can interpret the Bible correctly? All aspects. That you know exactly what God thinks. And that when he inspired these writers to put these books together, that you know exactly why he inspired them, what the reasons were behind it. Today in our Sabbath school lesson, we were throwing up verses on the screen. And it's amazing how a small verse can be completely taken out of context if you read just a small section. Somehow our brains have to encompass the Bible in its entirety to try and understand what he was actually meaning. So many people, because of this power that's been put in our laps. How many people here have more than one Bible at home? In their whole house? More than 5? Probably more than 10. You still keep with your hands up. I was looking around our house this morning for different Bibles. I was actually trying to find a Bible for my granddad. It's a very, very old Bible that we've had, and it was falling to bits, and I was trying to find it. And I must have found 20 plus Bibles around the house, including some from primary school for me, that has me writing the names of girls in the front page cover. I did, yeah. I'm not sure what I was doing in Bible class, but you watch Bible class, Bruce. You just got to be very careful with the boys in there. Looking through all these Bibles, I thought back to myself and I said, I haven't opened many of these in ages. I mean, most of us now will pull out, if you want to read the Bible, you'll pull out your phone or an iPad or some sort of electronic device. And it's great when you're preaching a sermon, you see so many people on their phones and you know they're reading the Bible. And it's lovely to see as you sort of look across. It's beautiful. That is where we are in life now. The problem is so many people, because we have this power in our hands, on our phones and everything, we go off and start interpreting the Bible as though we absolutely know best. We think that we've got it right. And we go off individually and make all these assumptions. We make all of these interpretations. And that is why the church was put in place. Luther said, the church is here so that people with all your different interpretations can come together, discuss, talk, and try and work out what interpretation makes the most amount of sense in context and run with that. What is different about the Adventist church from Seventh-day Baptists? Not specifically, why are we here together as Adventists and you are not down the road at a Lutheran church or an Anglican? What are the reasons you are here? Not rhetorical. What are some of the reasons that you might be in an Adventist church and not a different church? You really have no idea why you're here. Family, community. And I would suggest that if you are an Adventist, you are an Adventist because you align yourself with the interpretation of the Bible most closely with how our church does. And if you don't, you should be looking around for a church where your interpretation of the Bible more closely aligns itself. I was born an Adventist, raised an Adventist, had a reasonably strict mother when it came to Adventist ideals. I love her for it. But at some point, you have to make your own decision of why am I an Adventist Christian and not some other denomination? And I still go through all the things I believe in, and for me, whether or not it's just because it's how I've been brought up or what I truly think that I now believe it, this church more closely aligns the interpretation I have of the Bible more than any other denomination. Here's one that I know Mladen would absolutely love if he was here. Let's do this one for a second. It's a jazzy kind of music. This was Max's wedding song, actually. That's where I got it from. It had just come out then. Again, a different style of music. Very, very different from the first song that we played, the electronic style of music. Why is it different? I mean, there are music teachers in this room here. What makes music different across the board? I mean, there's only so many notes you can have on a piano or on a guitar. There's only so many beats you can have. And yet, how many different songs can you think of that sound very unique? This week, you might have heard in the news that there's been some backlash over a Ed Sheeran song. Ed Sheeran, for those who are older, he's a singer, musician, quite famous. He's been accused of plagiarism now from we know at some point, even the finite he had in terms of notes, rhythm, the overlapping of interpretation of a particular piece of music. It has to be. When I'm here, there's not something I'm good at. We often use the Bible as something to ourselves. And this is probably how many times have you actually decided you wanted to do something, or you wanted to do something, you wanted a reason that you thought you wanted a reason for it. You can go back to the Bible and start creating your own reasons in there. You know, all of a sudden you start you take and he's loved by God. All that you start looking around and kind of think that people start David, that Jesus came to him. He started making protections of the world to fit what you want to actually do, rather than what God was getting from it. Sam, I was talking about and said, and he said, some student came in his class day and said, from not an invention of pop. And said to him, "Are you high right now?" And he said, "No." And Sam said to him, "Your eyes are very bloodshot. You're slurring your speech. Are you sure? You sure you're not high?" Yeah." And Sam's like, "Well, hang on. You just lied and twisted the facts then. That is in the Bible. Definitely not pot or marijuana." But he said, "Isn't it crazy how we start looking for things the Bible doesn't talk about?" I mean, the Bible doesn't seem to make it overly clear on many different subjects. It doesn't talk about cigarettes, and yet if I pulled one out from my back pocket right now and started smoking, as I said, this was likely to be my last sermon, there would be some issues within the church, even though nobody from this church could actually show me a verse in the Bible that says, "Lauren, you are not allowed to smoke." So where do we get it from? I mean, people can come and say, "Look, I want reasons to sin," in essence. David slept with his wife. This guy got drunk. Peter had tantrums. He carried a concealed weapon and knocked off somebody's ear. Don't get me started on Lot's daughters and sleeping with him. Solomon had 900 wives. That is exhausting. Moses killed a guy in anger and went to heaven still. He was translated. The Israelites were so bad, they had to be told not to do anything sexual with animals. Aaron made a golden calf when God was literally in front of him. Aaron, who had seen miracle after miracle, had a cloud above him, had his brother up the mountain in front of him talking with God. They could hear the rumblings. And he still thought making a golden calf was okay. And Adam chose his wife over God. So many, these are just snippets of stories you could pull out from the Bible and say, well, all these guys did this, or the Bible never talks about this, so I can get away with whatever I want. Here is another one. Reg, you may want to turn your hearing aids off for this one. Let's do it. Not particularly my style of music, but it is a style of music that a lot of people listen to. They also tend to wear black. They tend to congregate in their own communities as well, but it is a very passionate style of music that a lot of people are into. The Bible doesn't talk about gun ownership. It doesn't talk about shooting up heroin. It doesn't talk about online porn. It doesn't talk about all these things. It doesn't even talk about whether or not you should support Trump if you lived in America and you had a vote. It doesn't talk about so many things that are in our culture that is current and relevant to us. So what is the use of the Bible? Why did Luther go to all this effort 500 years ago to get the Bible into our hands if it simply doesn't talk about so many of the things we struggle with now? Only a few months back, we had a massive referendum here. You may have heard about it. The Marriage Equality Act, the